like where you're going with this, how they're borrowing this sort of theology in the New Testament. And there's another thing that I noticed in Leviticus where they have this sort of sin. It's Yom Kippur ritual where they have one goat where they let that goat free. And that's Azazel, the scapegoat. And they have another goat that they slaughter in the temple, and he's the sin offering, I think with a bull as well. So I think there's 3 total animals. Do you think this is being allegorized in the New Testament where you have Jesus with with Barabbas, and they let Barabbas go, but then they kill Jesus and he's the sin offering? Do you think there's something going on there?
A lot of people have thought so, and it's a little bit tricky because in the Christian tradition, Jesus' death, Jesus takes sin upon himself and dies, and so he puts sin to death, and so he dies for your sins. The problem with the scapegoat thing, this is in Leviticus chapter 16, is that the goat that is slaughtered is not the goat that takes the sin upon itself. The scapegoat, they put their hand, so all the sins go onto the scapegoat and it runs off into the wilderness, so it gets rid of the sins. The other goat is killed as the sacrifice. And so it's a little bit hard to work out the analogy with the New Testament accounts of Jesus' death, although there are a lot of people who think that there is something like that going on there.
The first chapter of my book is Everything You Know is Wrong, and everything you know about the Bible is wrong. The reason why Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days isn't because he was just bored on a Tuesday. Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days because it's supposed to be a parallel to when Israel was in the desert for 40 years. And when they were in the desert, they sinned against God. So God made them get 2 goats. One goat was for a god called Azazel, and another goat was for Yahweh. When Jesus is baptized by John the Baptist and God says, "This is my son," Jesus is shown to be a goat for Yahweh. And then Jesus goes out into the desert and he's a goat for Azazel. Jesus went into the desert as a scapegoat to reverse the sins of the Israelites. So yes, everything you know about the Bible is wrong. That's why you need to get my books in my profile.